My name is Ann, and my husband is Kyle, and we met Kevin about a year and a half ago through Pastor Kyle here at Cedarbrook and another friend. We were going through a difficult situation. My husband had started having some behavioral issues, acting kind of goofy, and so we ended up going to the doctor and finding out that he had glioblastoma, which is a very serious brain cancer, which is causing his behavior. So somebody suggested we talk to Kevin and see if he could help us through that whole situation. So he did. We met him, and we were friends right away, and he helped us through all the feelings and fears and stresses of a cancer diagnosis, a serious cancer diagnosis like that. And then throughout the treatment, and there was a remission for a while there. So then we got to work on some other things, and then unfortunately there was a recurrence last spring, and which eventually started to mutate and get worse and worse. So we lost my husband last October. But through that, if the counseling us through the cancer diagnosis wasn't impactful enough, he, of course, recognized in us, our personalities and our behaviors that led to a very interesting relationship dynamic for our last 34 years of marriage. So it has been going on forever. So my husband had a lot of anxiety. And so he had a lot of anger, built up from not being able to process those feelings his whole life, basically. So he would be triggered, as we call it, multiple times a day, and have an emotional response that was very, inappropriate and very oftentimes hurtful to myself or our kids or other people. And so, Kevin understood that and worked with him on his triggers and how to, manage the emotional response that comes after the trigger and make sure that it's not hurting anyone. I, on the other hand, am probably the polar opposite of how I handle things compared to my husband, how he did. I internalize everything. So something happens, or a fight starts, anything uncomfortable, and I'm internalizing it, and I'm feeling that there's something I should have done or I should do to fix that situation. So that leads to a lot of guilt and a lot of beating myself up, and doing that year after year after year, it just really compounds into you're living in a shell of guilt, for no reason, because I didn't do anything wrong, but I felt that I did. So in my work with Kevin, I learned to say to myself, am I guilty? Did I sin? Should I have done something differently? Is this a cause of anything that I did personally, or is it somebody else's responsibility? And so that's kind of what I learned and what I've still been working on, because as we all know, old habits die hard, and it's a continuous process to keep learning and growing and recognizing those triggers and recognizing your response to them and trying to improve that for yourself and for everybody around you. So now, since Kyle's passing and all the new things that come along with being a surviving spouse after a serious illness, that brings its own set of not only, grief and sadness and all that, but also a lot of remorse, which can lead to guilty feelings of things that you could have done better, or you should have done better, or things that you could have, where you could have been more compassionate, or, got him treatment sooner, or whatever. So it's a whole, array of guilty feelings that just come along with surviving a spouse, along with all the other issues that come along with surviving a spouse. But I just want to say that the fact that we met Kevin when we did, and I was able to learn about this, this whole process of, internalizing my guilt and those triggers, it has helped me going through this stage of my life, which I would not wish upon my worst enemy, to be able to at least say to myself, okay, I'm feeling guilty about this, or I should have done that. I can take a step back and say, all right, did I sin? Did I do anything intentionally to hurt my husband or anybody else for that matter? Or am I just a human being going through a difficult situation and doing the best I can? And usually it's the last one. So I'm able to know that now and not like build the guilt back up, in myself. So that's been, I feel like it was God's hand that we met Kevin at the time that we did, but at the same time it was 30 years too late because we could have been doing this the whole time. But I'm just glad that we were able to work with him, and it's been a blessing. So I just want to say that none of the growth that I have seen would have been possible without Kevin. He's such a kind soul, and I just have so many positive adjectives to describe him. He's, compassionate and understanding and empathetic, and he just meets you where you are and just you feel like he knows you, right away when you first meet. So those are all great traits in a counselor. And I just want to say that one thing that has been a constant of people that I've talked to and myself, that he's not like judgmental. And oftentimes, and I myself am a little leery of a more religious-based counseling just because, you think of somebody that's going to, look at you and say, oh, you're sinning and you shouldn't think that way and you shouldn't be that way. And that's not the case, here at all. It's just, he understands that we're all human and we all have human feelings and we're not perfect like Jesus. So he will bring in, scripture to help you in your situation, whatever the situation might be. But it's more like bringing in and letting you know about Jesus's love and not God's disappointment in us. So I feel that's really important in a leader of this type of a ministry, to bring in people and have them understand that they're not going to be judged for the things that they're feeling and the things that they've done and the things that they're going through. And it's important to nurture new Kevins that will broaden this ministry to so many more people and with that same mindset. I'm just really excited for our community and for, the broader region and area that's going to be impacted by this very important ministry and these tools that Kevin has developed and is teaching to everyone. Because, learning about your triggers, and everybody has them. Everybody has triggers and everybody has emotional responses to those triggers. And they aren't always that's what's hurtful. They aren't always the way we want them to come out, and we don't even know that we're doing it a lot of the times. So it's just going to be so wonderful that more and more people are going to be able to learn these skills and learn these tools to help them, handle their emotional responses better. And then they won't hurt the people that they love. And everybody will just, have a better experience while they're here on earth.